Hello. Welcome to Outlaw Redemption the Podcast, a Western folk rock opera. I think I got it that time.
I think you got it that time, Bill. Man, you're a wizard.
I'm your host, Bill Wardlow. My co-host, the one and only RPG, Ronald Allen Cordy.
Sometimes known as Obadiah Hardman. No. Or one of our many other characters in our story. So how you doing? This is a pretty good
We're at
podcast. We're at chapter 3.
We're at chapter 3, and we're at the title.
Yeah.
We're at the title.
How you feeling right now? I mean,
track.
we're kind of, man, it's a sad thing, man. This guy's really gone down in his life, hasn't he?
He has. He has.
Yeah. Our poor Obadiah Hardman's gone from having sunrise on the farm, thanking God about what a wonderful life was and all his blessings and how grateful he was for a beautiful family, to the point now that he has reached the end of the road. The end of the road, man. The payoff for one's actions, if you will, consequences, and such. So, so we start off at this point. So he's made himself out west, and he's, like I said before, on the previous podcast, he's come to become a hired gun and maybe a little bit of a thug for an outlaw baron and some maybe a few unscrupulous, hard people. And but got to take care of the wife, got to take care of the remaining kid that he's got, little Hezekiah. Well, Mary Elizabeth with a little fragile mind and stuff, from all the distraught. And him, at this point, he's become a pretty hard man. Oddly enough, his name is Hardman. That was not an accident, folks. It was part of the storytelling. I thought I like the biblical names. Obadiah honestly, Obadiah is an old biblical name. But a friend of mine, I always liked it because it's also short for OB. And
It's long for OB.
Oh, yeah, long for OB. Yeah, I guess that's the way it is, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, so I grew up, I had a friend of mine's dad's name was OB. So honestly, it's a little bit of nod. It's a little bit of nod to him. OB Taylor was his name. I spent a lot of time over at the Taylor house in my teenage formative years, and I learned probably more about old classical rock music and stuff, and just music in general, from one of the Taylor boys. Scott Taylor was his name. We fought and argued about more things than you can ever imagine. But I mean, I probably see more concerts with him than anybody, and his music knowledge is. Although he's probably the most knowledgeable person I've ever had tell me stuff. I listened to all the retro shows, and I mean, this cat's amazing. So I really love that. So that's where, formative stuff. I mean, why I make music, because I listen to this music, and I was told about this music and what I was hearing. And so between Scott and my brother Rick had a great collection that I used to break into and get punished.
So just to bring it up, I just want to ask for my own. Scott.
Yeah.
Taylor.
Yes.
That's Nolan Taylor's dad.
Yes, Nolan Taylor's dad. And I didn't want to drop Nolan's name.
I know you. I know you didn't, but I just wanted to bring. I wanted to make sure I knew who you.
All
was
the
talking
kudos
about as well.
out to him, dude. He is
doing fabulous. We just listened to his new EP earlier today, and my goodness.
And knowing that he's getting ready to put an album out, and knowing that he knows what's coming, I can just tell that he knows what's coming.
Actually, so we're sitting here about a week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And he's going to make his Grand Ole Opry debut.
Dude, it's unreal. So it's, yeah. It's all like
good
a dream.
for
That's
him.
all a dream. It's all a dream for all of us. I mean, it means a lot to me.
Good for him for getting out there and doing it.
What's really cool, the one thing I will say about that whole thing is that going back to this album collection, so that's the same well he supped off of for many years.
Right.
You know, I mean, like, so it's like coming out of the same ground. and hit, like I said, and he had the, I go say for my credit, for his credit, Scott is probably, the details, the things that he knows, the connections, how they were made, who they were made, what's on it, who produced. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
And he just if he tells you something's good, you should listen to it. That's all I'm saying. And he showed me so many things. I mean, I hear a song on the radio and I can remember sitting exactly where I was sitting at that house the first time I heard it, and was like just shocked by it. So
Yeah.
that's so that was really cool doing all that. I mean, that's where I come from and all this music and stuff.
Yeah.
Just but going back to
I know you didn't want to drop any names.
No,
but
and I apologize that I did. It's your fault.
Well, you didn't. I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, super proud of Nolan and
I would.
Good
Yeah,
for him. And
I wish the world for him.
Yes, absolutely.
Talk about a guy that works hard and pursues and
that's when
no matter what anyone else says,
he's
got
a prime
goal.
example of
Drive.
Of what happens when preparation meets opportunity. And he was prepared,
and he is talented.
Yeah,
he writes with substance and writes about real stuff, and I try to emulate that myself. It's kind of weird. He's my friend's kid, but I look up to him a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean that. And I don't need him to do a thing for me except keep making his music real.
Yeah.
Because that's what he is, an inspiration. And so.
Absolutely. So back to OB.
Yeah, OB. So yeah, it was roughly named after in honor of his grandpa. OB was a good dude, and he let us hang out there, and that means a lot. But that's why I chose that name. I like that name a lot, and I like the fact that you could short Obadiah down to OB.
Yeah.
I kind of worked it backwards because I just like the name OB. I don't know. And so, we're here where OB's got himself in this town. And like I said, but eventually, like I said in the earlier episode, you leave a trail of destruction behind you. Robbery here. This guy was seen here, wife with kid, robbery, took money, stole food, and eventually, when you start killing people that are legislators and big important people, and you don't get away, you don't just run away from that. Even in those days, the Pinkertons, the whole 9 yards, that whole story of that in history, where detectives would come find people, and so that's what happens in this story. Basically, that's what eventually his luck runs out. As I say, you're not going to, if you leave a trail of destruction, you're not hard to find. And you're not going to outrun the long arm of the law.
Absolutely.
And so that's a old, tried and true message. They're old sayings for a reason, because they've been around for a long time and they're true. Yeah. And so then it comes to a second part where he finds himself locked up and
facing the gallows.
Yeah, facing the gallows for because he murdered people.
Yeah.
And important people that knew people. And but the whole time he's in there, and of course it takes time to get everybody, once they're a piece of the pie, to get out there to see the retribution and all that, because we all want to see people punished. The nature of man.
Yeah.
You did me wrong, I want to see you punished. So he spent a lot of time in jail waiting for all the things to come together. But an interesting thing happened to him when he was in jail is every day that this preacher would come see him. And this preacher just so happened himself had been a Civil War soldier. He was actually a surgeon in the Civil War, and had seen so much death and destruction and just the horrible things of the world that it left him with a sense of, futility almost. And I need to do something good in this world, except, sure, I'm patching up dead people, but murder everywhere and yada, yada. And he himself had came out west to find his own sort of redemption, and that was to preach and bring a message of hope, because he knew there was tons of people trying to find an escape from the horror that they had just lived through, which was the Civil War. So that's where our preacher comes in, and even though they were from different sides of the war, they had a kindred spirit, and he understood all of the things, and he even understood where how Obi had gotten to where he had gotten. But at a certain point, it doesn't matter how you got there. Where you're at is where you are. And in that moment, and them guys thinking and him remembering back to what the blessings that he had given in life and all that, and that period of time, he started to contemplate his life. And then eventually, and every day that preacher would tell him a story about Jesus on the cross, the 3 crosses on the hill, and how one man was mocking Jesus and how the other one just said, I'm not worthy, but you're the Son of God, and remember me, and acknowledged and knew that he wasn't able to change his way, but he did believe in the one that could, and the simple line, Jesus said, we'll be together today in paradise. That's the funny thing about it is that there's a lot of doctrinal things that get blown over in that simple transaction, and all of the religion and all of the things. And I'm not here to argue about what's right, wrong, or indifferent, but I'm just getting to this simple thing. And this is the message. This is the central core of this whole thing. You know how simple it is? There was a man on a cross that was unworthy and knew it, and he said, I was, and they knew who the Lord was, and he submitted himself to the Lord. And he didn't have his tithes, he didn't get in this order, he didn't get baptized, he didn't know doctrine, he didn't know theology, he didn't know anything, but he knew who the Lord was. And I think the sooner you know that, you will do all those other things. They will be a result of knowing who the Father was. Where it really came from. It will change you. You don't change and do all these things to be acceptable. You're acceptable, and because you're accepted, it will change you. And I think that's, I don't care what anybody thinks. I love that message. I know that I'm incapable of doing things. I know that I fail. I know I come up short all the time, but it's not about me.
Right.
And
yeah, it's a fabulous message.
Yeah, it's a great message, and that's I wanted that message out there because there's a world of people dealing with, like I said in another part of these podcasts, about all the different generational things and all the things that I'm addressing now, how the old things or the new things are just the old things a different way, and that's what it's about, man. These people, Jesus was on the cross and they were killing him, and he said, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. It wasn't like while they were yet sinners, it says, he did it for them knowing they were going to do all that stuff to him. And it didn't matter because he was going to do what was right for us, and because he cared about us, because we matter, because you don't get to say I'm done. It ain't your decision to say I'm done. You can kill me, but you don't get to decide what happens to me, but Jesus does. That's my beliefs, and that's what I wanted to put out there. But I find a lot of reassurance in that. So that was the message. And sadly, after all this time, talking to this preacher and thinking about it, and, this same, I don't want to call it an argument, the same thing I laid out for you guys just now was laid out to him in his place of realizing this is where I'm at. I think I'm done. I don't think there's any chance. But is there any redemption for me? Is there? This guy's posing something that tells me I can at least ask the question.
Yeah. Is
there any redemption for me? You're saying there is. And then all you got to do is say, I take it. I'll accept it. I want to be different. I want to be acceptable because I want you to say I'm acceptable. I realize I can't become that. And unless you say I am. So that was my message that I wanted to get out there. Because there's people that are right now deciding whether they want to live or die.
Right.
They want to decide whether it's worth it or not. And and the funny thing is there's another little sad lesson on the end of it. Although Obi finds the Lord and he submits himself to the Lord.
And he finds his redemption.
Yeah, he finds his redemption, but he also finds his consequences.
Yeah.
And we have a very interesting, we had to build us a little gallows at the end, the gallows drop, man. It's very jarring.
Yeah. And it was a nice addition.
Yeah.
to that. I thought that really finished that song
I couldn't
off
help
well
it.
of the very end of, you're listening to this whole song and knowing that it's coming to his hanging.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, you hear the gallows let go and boom.
Yeah, he's free. He found the Lord. Thump.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, oh goodness.
Yeah.
But that's the lesson. It does. But there's a greater lesson in all that. We put so much in the Bible. It says this life's but a vapor in eternity. So at the end of that, and his consequences on this time on earth, which is but a vapor, ends up being his salvation and his life of eternity and freedom and in redemption, so I think that's just a really cool moment, as somber as it is, for one that's going to be that's acceptable to the Lord. Has accepted the Lord. They get to be in the next chapter of glory. So I think that's so even as it's sad for OB in another way, he was free finally found freedom from all of the things that were weighing him down, but not just death, not just the ending of it, but the beginning of something beautiful. In the Bible it says to be absent of the body is to be present with the Lord. And if you're in this world that's kicking you down, and whether it be sickness, illness, whatever it may be, poverty, oppression, any of that, and to go find yourself in the presence of the Lord and in the eternal choir, and playing a part that's your part that was made for you from the beginning of time. I mean, that's a beautiful idea. I mean, I get to go be in the band, playing the part that was wrote for me, to the greatest audience in the greatest venue, singing the greatest song forever. That's heaven to me. I mean, that's what it says in the Bible to me, and that's. I wish everybody had that feeling.
Right.
They need to know that, especially when they're down there deciding to destroy themselves. Because I've tried to destroy myself. I've despaired, and I've been brought from that. So, I mean, there's a lot of important things to write music for, and I think hope is one of the biggest ones. Connection and hope. And this, just trying to bring something into the world, man. This song started it all. I wrote this song as a standalone, and it said so much more to me. It invented a whole story in my head around it and who this character was.
Yeah. And
oddly enough, this is a sort of a transition point, because this is the end of this guy's story.
Right.
So
right, it's much like The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Just when you get to know the character, they kill him off.
Mine was always Game of Thrones. The first season, Ned.
Yeah, I never watched it.
Oh, that's a shame, because it's a great series. But the guy that's the character, Sean Beam, who's like a big time actor, he's got the coolest character. You love him to death, and they chop his head off at the end of the first season. I'm like, wait, This is a story about Ned and the.
That's what I always liked about Walking Dead is you're really into this character.
Yeah, and
this is the focus of the whole thing.
Well, then you would absolutely love Game of Thrones, because I swear to God, they will. I'd watch them develop a character over books just so they can slaughter him.
Right.
Just here's his moment. Oh, you finally developed it. He's reached his point. Why'd you do that? So I could kill him for you and make you shocked. And it's like, oh wow.
So this is the title track, and we to get back on track. This one really come together for us.
Yeah, well, there was some weird stuff though, if you remember. We recorded, so we got on this basic. Like I said, all of the story songs we have. Me, Kendall playing bass, and Tucker playing his electric guitar, and Jake on the lap steel. So, one little thing that we did record, and then we had Mason, Denver Thomas, and Bill Wardlow playing percussion. But one of the things that we did recording with these lead and secondary instruments, if you will, is we'd have them do entire runs passively, do passive rhythm and sound effect and fill-in spots that were more flowy and passive. And then we'd usually go back and get lead licks and runs. So I don't know how we did this, but we were like, I think at one point we were like, yeah, we'll get the lead licks off of the lap steel. We'll use lap steel.
We had the lap steel already,
but we had a passive run at it. We didn't get any lead runs, and then when we got to that, we're like, oh, but that's okay. We'll get it in the electric. Well, we didn't get any. After we did all that, when we started mixing, we realized, hey, you know what? We're gonna have to bring one of them guys back because we didn't take any lead runs on any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the weirdest thing happened. Of course. I was up at a open mic in Dayton on a Tuesday night. And a friend of mine up there that was running that said, hey, man, I got this guy plays sax. Would you mind if he plays with you? And if you know me, I go to open mics. I will play with folks. I play original music they never heard. But if they're good, I mean, you know when they're good because they jump right in on it. And, boy, we knocked him out down there. It was pretty cool. First time I ever met this guy's name, Joseph Bradley Hutchison. And so we get done, and I tell him my story like I've told him. That's the funny thing. When I told Bill about this project, I had told so many people that ran studios or did recording, and every one of them looked at me with blank looks like, what the hell are you talking about here? Are you crazy? I found out later that Bill thought the same thing, but he did a good job hiding it because in his face, he was like, yeah, we can do that. He was like, yeah. Well, I will say, Joe, when I met Joe the first night, I started telling him this thing, and I'm like, dude, I'm just going on too much. This is too much for most people. They think you're just rambling on, and everybody talks in the world. They say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And, finding people, I admire people that say they're going to do something and do it. I just really do. And I try my best to do it myself. And nobody's perfect, and I don't. But this one, so I tell this guy what we got going on. He said, dude, that sounds really great. He goes, man, I'd love to be a part of a project like that. And this is Tuesday, mind you. I said, well, just so happens I'm going Saturday. Would you be interested in going and laying some sax down? And sure enough, he's like, well, yeah, I love that. And I said, well, cool. I'll send you a couple things. So I sent him a few songs, and it was like, bang, we've got this problem. We don't have any leads on it. So I realized I need to send him Outlaw Redemption because we didn't have any leads. And amongst other songs, I sent him a handful that he practiced on and worked on. And Joe's a homework.
And really did his homework.
Well, he's a homeworker, man. He knows what's going on. He knows what things. So we indulged ourselves with a horn player. Then we get here. When Joe gets here, he goes, I brought my clarinet too. So not only does he play sax, now we got clarinet. So I will say, again, we found ourselves in the position of, wow, we have a horn section.
Well, this was another case of I had never recorded horns before.
Yeah.
And I get a call going, hey, I met this horn player.
I'm bringing a sax player.
And I'm bringing him this weekend. So
we need him, Bill.
There I was.
It's an opera.
Yeah. There I was rummaging through YouTube videos and Googling everything I could find on recording horn sections or horns players in general.
Yeah, the horn section just kind of organically happened.
The horn section, I just couldn't help myself.
Well, you're sitting there going, we built a string section. We got a horn. We got two horns here. Hey, Joe. And it was so funny because he pulls out a piece of paper and says, okay, hold on. And then he writes out the low sax part, the middle sax part, the low clarinet part. It was nice
to watch him throw it all together.
Yeah, he just wrote it out real quick. I mean, he knew what scales.
But not to mention that he showed up prepared and had the hook that he uses on the on the chorus or the pre-chorus.
Yeah.
And
on Saturday.
He had that ready to go when he showed up.
I was on Saturday and I met him on a Tuesday night and didn't even get him stuff till like Thursday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he had like Thursday night, Friday, and come up Saturday ready to lay it down.
Yeah. He showed up like he had been playing these songs for forever.
Yeah, that worked out real good. So he came in and did these. So and it's really, really interesting because I'll probably record this particular song again someday in another fashion, because I always had this meant to be just raunchy Southern rock, just as Leonard Skinnerdy and
Molly Hatchet.
Molly Hatchety, whatever. I love the Marshall Tucker Band. I love those guys. Matter of fact, what's really cool is that at some point in this, we used a actual tambourine that Doug Gray himself from Marshall Tucker Band threw to me at a concert. Said, "This is for you, big man." Throws it to me like a frisbee because I was singing my little heart out in the sixth row, and I mean, I was letting it fly. I was on stage with Marshall Tucker, and we had a ball. And I've got to meet them guys since, and I even brought it up. It's really funny. But yeah, he throws it to me and nobody tried to catch it. So if you guys don't know, I'm a pretty big fella. I'm like 6'4", and I weigh like 285 pounds. I'm always been a big fella, so I'm a lot taller than most people. So when I'm sitting in the sixth row singing my ass off, which I was.
People notice.
They notice. And I forget because I don't even realize I'm just in my little space here, but I guess it's a big space. But it was funny because he throws a freaking tambourine like a frisbee and nobody tried to catch it. I caught it like, just grab it. And I never forget that show because I got to the end of the night and I had we were in Louisville, and went down there to see him, and I had 6 different people come up to me, 6. And they all said the same exact things. They said, "Man, you played the hell out of that there tambourine." I love going south. It was so funny, man. Plate the hell out of it. And I'm here to tell you, I did plate the hell out of it. And I sang my ass off, which is why I got that in the first place. Because I love them. Those guys were part of my youth growing up. Again, probably another part of why because they were very Western themed.
Yeah.
They got a few songs that are just absolutely Southern, but cowboy. There's a lot of cowboy in a lot of the songs they did. And
so back to the recording.
Yeah, back to recording. Joe laid down some
fabulous parts. Did a great solo on it.
Yeah.
And then we got to the end of it.
Wanted just a touch. Conflict.
I just wanted more going on.
Yeah, we had it's culminating down. We're about to drop the gallows and all this anxiety and tension. We wanted to build something, and we pop out the clarinet.
Yeah.
And add some side.
So I think at the end there's 2 or 3 saxophones, and then he laid probably 4 or 6
cross leads.
Clarinet.
Yeah, they're like cross leads that
doing
are just
something completely
so
different.
So much conflict and confusion. But somehow it's all together.
It gets very chaotic.
Yeah,
right,
it's chaotic, but it's all in tune. It's not out of tune or necessarily. It's just so much, a combination of so many things going on.
Yeah.
Right before it all ends.
Yeah.
Right before it ends. So it's like a whole buildup of anxiety, anticipation, struggle, conflict, and resolution, all happening at the drop of a gallow.
And again, Jake and Tucker really played well off of each other.
Yeah.
And this song really come together.
It's so interesting having those guys never hearing each other play. Instead of trying to lay off to accommodate the other one, we got each person's the reason we did that is 'cause we got their interpretation.
Yeah. Again,
from their own voice.
Tucker and Jake didn't hear each other's parts. We muted the other one while they were here.
And the beautiful, beautiful irony was that when you pulled them out and played them simultaneously, you would be surprised about how their answer musically though, was the same response to the question the music I laid to them was. I lay out something, and here's their interpretation of what should go on. And they both heard the same thing.
They play very much alike, and without hearing what the other one's doing.
But not.
And
they didn't step on each other. They were almost like they were doing harmonies.
It was amazing. I can remember bringing the faders up on this song, and just going, "Wow!" just works.
Yeah.
We didn't do very much editing at all.
No.
It just worked.
I mean, yeah, we talk about doing some things. I mean, I'm telling you, there was minimal editing. We chose takes on certain things. Yes, we did that. But when it came to editing, it was so organic how most everything came together.
Yeah.
We did a little nudge here and there, but I mean, a couple times we find a snippet of something that just fit that was from another take, but it was strange, like I said, and so many times they were that one more take. Bill said, take another one.
Yeah.
I say, man, I don't think I can do it any better. Well, let's do one more. Damn it, we're using the one more again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, it was one of them lessons to learn.
It's the one more where you don't care anymore because you just got the
Yeah,
good take.
I think you're right
I just
about
got
that.
the good take. We'll do one more that doesn't matter.
Yeah, if it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. And you might be right. You probably are a little more relaxed. Like I've already got it in the pocket.
Right.
And that's
you already got the take you needed.
yeah. But it was
This one doesn't really matter.
It was very
and
fun.
typically that relieves a lot of the pressure.
Yeah, it definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it came out to be, and I met a new friend, and Joe. I play a lot of, and to this day, Joe's from Dayton. He drove all the way down, he drove almost 2 hours to get to the studio.
Right at 2 hours. Yeah.
To come down and be part of this project, so I play when I go out and play out as I call him and another friend of mine, Rob, up there. He's a harp player, but finally a harp player that plays percussion and harp for me, but mostly percussion. Because when I'm with Joe, I got a sax and clarinet, and but I call them the Northern Tumbleweeds. But so we continue on making music with these folks that were on this album. Everyone's got their own projects too, and a lot of them, or at least and doing stuff. But we find time to get together and have some show here and there, and I find that great for my own personal enjoyment of music, because as much as I really would like to have a solid lineup, go out and got us a 5-piece or a 4-piece or whatever and hit it up that way every time. That would be a lot of fun. But then again, it's like sometimes I like to go, I got to do a acoustic show with a violin player. I got a fantastic violin player from up in the Hamilton area, Noelle Grace Williams. She wasn't on this project because she had other things, and then I got my friend Sarah Gorak, who was on this project. It's just neat to be able to do that. Different voices.
And that you just said something that reminded me that was a big part of this whole project. If we couldn't get someone here, we just called someone else.
Well, that's
and
friendships, man.
And it wasn't a we need this thing.
We need this person, or we'll get that person.
Yeah, well, it was we couldn't get a violin player today, so we'll do banjo.
Yeah, be flexible.
And yeah, it was just a matter of how it worked out.
Yeah.
You just go with it.
You go with it. You don't
you had your mind made up who and what you wanted played on this album, and almost none of these songs turned out that way.
Well, to be honest, my main two musicians were Noelle and Gary. And Gary started a new endeavor. Noelle was starting a new company, and she was working on her own album at the same time. And I could have waited, probably, but the enormity of what we had to do and this time frame that I wanted to do it, and I really wanted to get it out by summertime, really wanted to. I was trying for like April, and I think we made it by the end of like the 1st of June, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
we could have gone sooner, but we held on to it just to make sure. And it was just one of them things, like you get lemons, you make lemonade.
Yeah.
But I go back again to these, man, I would go out and play songs with people at open mics, man. I would be inviting. I would say, hey, would you like to join me? When they said, hey, this person plays this, I didn't go, well, it's not really the song I'm playing for. I'd go play it in the style that would fit that.
Right.
And then I learned the secret. Find a way to play it and play it the same for everybody so they would all learn it the same, even if they never was in the room together. So after a while of trying to accommodate everybody, I said, no, I'm going to do it. They'll make that fit and see how it fits. So then it came to the point when we come to these rooms, everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
How are we doing it? Bill played with me last night. He knows he played off that sheet that we had worked on, rehearsal, and I guarantee he read it off. What we played last night was exactly what was on that sheet.
Yep.
Measure by measure and everything. I shortened up here's what I know. I shortened up one song by one stanza because I didn't have a lead instrument. And feel that way instead of going through, that's another song, but instead of going through the break in the middle where I usually have a lead section, I only went one time and then started the next set of verses. See, I know that. But I mean, I do it specifically, it's just, if you aren't you can make a strength out of a lot of things. Consistency, you don't have to be great to be consistent. Just like you don't have to be talented to show up on time.
And consistently will make you better.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. When you do these simple things, you do get better. But you can show up, you can do your homework, you can pay attention to what's going on, you can be on time. These are all qualities that are the best qualities a person can have, and you don't have to have one bit of talent to do any of those things.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not perfect. I'm a slob. I can be late and all this stuff, but I've learned to get more discipline and practice. Practice requires no skill. Practice requires doing it, and from that you will gain skill. But you're not going to have skill without doing the practice, and it's just, you come, again, sometimes you just got to understand where you're at and say, this is where I'm at. And that's where it is. I know where I want to go, so how am I going to get there, And I can tell you, just like this thing is a journey, step by step. But yeah, so we're about to hit a different transition in this whole project, a whole new, an ending that will beget a new beginning. And this is Outlaw Redemption. Scrapping and stealing to survive, moving to stay free, trying to find a place to start over. But you're never going to outrun the long arm of the law. So eventually, while working as a hired gun for a prairie town baron, OB finally ran out of luck. When you leave a trail of destruction, you ain't hard to find. So while he was sitting in jail, waiting for the sentence for the vengeance he took on those that hurt his family, whether it was justice or not, who can truly say, except for God, of course. But every day he was visited by a preacher, a former Union surgeon, a man who had seen so much destruction that he came west to find his own redemption, to show way to salvation to a generation shaped by civil war and death. And he told old OB about a thief that was on a cross, and that thief was undeserving, but he believed in who the Lord was, and then how the Lord said that he would be with him in paradise. That true grace and mercy can't be bought, only received as a gift. And that if he just believed in it, OB saw what he had become and truly gave himself over to his Savior. And though he did not escape his fate in this world, his soul was free and his heart was at peace.
the loser. It's my condition.